Welcome to the first installment of our Build a Better SFM BMAX car. So here we have my BMAX car. This is red hot, and this is a pretty fast car for what it is. It's a BMAX car. It's got a Hyperdash motor engine in there, and if I pump up the battery voltages a lot on this is a very, very competitive car, even though it's got like some really weird features about it that seem to not make much sense, but they make sense to me. Like the first one that doesn't make sense is this fact that the rollers are not aligned exactly. And we're going to try to fix that in our successive version of our BMAX car. So I chose the SFM chassis because a lot of people have said that SFM is a great chassis for like technical tracks that are like 3-lane tracks. And yeah, you can't go wrong. There's a lot of people racing those classic chassis like SFM and yeah, even VS chassis. So why not? Why not try to build one and try to build one as awesome as possible. So I have here a combination of FRP plates, carbon plates on here. You see I've attached these carbon plates onto this chassis using this lock nut method here. So I've seen other cars in which somehow the person put this part on here and it doesn't really fit exactly. So unless you're willing to drill into your carbon plates a little bit so that you can get it to fit, I'm not sure if that's legal in some racing events. But yeah, let's try to avoid that and try to build this in such a way that it is completely legal, right? So we're going to use on our Build a Better SFM BMAX car a carbon FM chassis. So here is, and you can tell that it's carbon because it's like a duller surface than this one. This one's like the regular plastic, I think ABS plastic. Hopefully it's not PP, but I think it's ABS plastic. And here's the carbon one, which is like a duller finish, as you see here. So oddly enough, the carbon SFM, carbon FM chassis does not include a carbon tail. At least I don't think it is. I think this is ABS basically. So it came off of here, I believe, and I believe this is ABS plastic because it doesn't feel the same as this material here. And yeah, it's basically a generic kind of tail wing, right? The rear plate thing. So it attaches with one screw, as you see there, and there's nothing really special about it. You have to basically attach your plates a certain way to get this to work. Now, you can purchase this. This is the carbon roller stay for the SFM chassis. Tail plate for this, and as you see, this appears to be a little different than the other one. So it attaches the same way using a single screw, and you see there's like these additional holes on top here. There's something here too, and it looks like you can attach something here too, right? So there's 2 holes here, and there's nothing on this plate. So this carbon version is a lot more versatile than this ABS plastic version. Now, for all of you people out there who are familiar with SFM, CFM chassis, this may be like common knowledge to you, but for the first timers out there who have never really experienced SFM or CFM chassis, I think this video series will be valuable to you. So yeah, all of you people who are like SFM, CFM nerds, this video may not be for you, and you can just fast forward to the next video in the series if you want to see more. But yeah, for those of you who are starting out building your first SFM/CFM chassis car, this series is for you. So let's continue on here. So you see this looks a lot more complex than this. And here on my first BMAX car here using the SFM chassis, I used the standard plate, as you see here. So that's why, I think that's the large reason why I couldn't get these things lined up properly. I think I'll have a better chance here, and I'll be able to use like a true underguard plate. So yeah, we're going to try to use a true underguard plate on here and see how that goes. And yeah, hopefully these additional holes right here, like here, and here will be useful to us, because the original plate is kind of like, it looks, and and is very limited in what it can do. But here's the funny thing. Look at this. There's 2 holes on each end here on the ABS plate, and there's only 1 on the carbon plate. So I don't know if that's by design. I don't know if that's like a good or bad thing, but basically it's just attachment points for whatever plate you're using. So don't think of it as like I'm going to attach my rollers onto here directly. No, you can't think like that. You have to put a plate on here and then attach the rollers onto the plate. So yeah, that's how it'll go. So we're going to first look at the chassis itself. And as you see here, this first part, this is the slot where your cowl will be inserted. Now, here's the funny thing about SFM versus CFM. And some of you may have noticed this. Some of you may have not. But if I put this in here like so, and I lock it in place, this cowl, there's a lot of give right there. You see it? A lot of give. Now, on the SFM chassis, there's like no give at all. You cannot slide this around like you can with this one. This one slides around a lot. Oh, let me just lock it in place again. This one, as you see, slides around quite a bit. So you might think that, oh, well, maybe it's your cowl, right? Maybe your red cowl is like, it has a wider lip on the front than your black cowl. Well, let's swap the cowls and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here, I'm putting the red cowl in. See, there's a lot of give right there. Whereas on the SFM, there was no give at all. So now we'll take a look at the black cowl on my SFM chassis. And we'll lock it in place. As you see here, no give. So the hole that allows the lip of the cowl to go into, on the CFM chassis, this is a wider lip. So why is that important? Why do we want to minimize this sliding around? It's because the more you can make these parts rigid and not move, the more stable your car is. So having this slide around like this, especially on a track that has a lot of turns, a lot of hairpin turns, a lot of regular turns, anything that'll cause an imbalance when this is moving around on the track, that's a bad thing. So you want to try to minimize this sliding around right here. So how can you minimize this? You can use friction. You can add more tape. As you see here, I put a little bit of tape there. I put a little bit of tape on the cowl itself also. And on an SFM chassis, that minimizes any sliding around on an SFM chassis. On a CFM chassis, you're going to have to devise something a little bit better, right? You can use more tape until it does not slide around, or I've seen people use sponge, and that could also keep this in place. So if you add a little bit of sponge right there on the lip, and you slide it in place, it should keep it snug. So very, very cool. So first tip of the day right there. Second tip, let's take a look at the chassis itself and how I've put the wheels on. So I got this as a gift, right? So this is my gift car, and this is a really, really cool car. It's the Brocken Gigant Black Special. And yeah, it is my dream car. I've dreamt about this for so long, and now I'm going to turn it into a BMAX car. So I'm creating this whole thing separately from the original because I want to try to preserve as much of the original as possible for racing purposes. So I'm just going to basically take this cowl off of here and put it on here, and it'll be like having a brand new car, a BMAX version of this car. So the first things first, I decided in my new BMAX car to have aluminum wheels on here. So I've got the heavier ones in the front and the lighter ones in the rear. And I was thinking about this for a little bit. The motor is going to be in the front, so it's already got some extra weight right there. So do I really need to make this even heavier in the front? Could I shift it in the rear? Well, yes, sure I can. And I was thinking about doing that, but for the time being, I have these right up front right here, and I've got 72mm shafts that are pierced through these, what do you call them? They're the little things that you push into the aluminum wheels so that you can put the shafts into. So here, nice and smooth right there. Nice and smooth. Yes. Yeah. 72 millimeter shafts are like the thing you should really use, especially for BMAX. And pierced wheels, an important thing. Now, you have to cover up this, right? You can't have these things exposed, because if you have these things exposed, you could be DQ'd, because if somebody's trying to catch your car and they miscatch it by not catching it in the front, if it hits them, it could cause someone to bleed. And that's not what you want. You want to try to make this as safe as possible. You can put end caps on here. You can put tape on here. You can even put lock nuts on here. There's enough room for lock nuts to kind of slide onto there. Yeah, pretty darn cool. So here you see there's a little bit of give. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit more when this is towards its finality of its build. So yeah, you see there's a lot of give right here. I'm just going to tighten this up, squeeze it a little bit closer, and I'm using this wheel press right here to do the job of pushing the wheels together, because you want the parallel planes here of the wheels to be exactly parallel with no crookedness. So I've discovered that even if your shafts, your 72 millimeter shafts, are not completely straight, a 72 millimeter shaft has enough, we'll say, give to allow the shaft to be true when it's spinning. When you're popping that slightly crooked, so usually shafts are crooked towards the ends. So when you're sliding that shaft into whatever that thing is, that into your wheel, what happens is it kind of flexes back and straightens out. So really it's this middle portion of the shaft that you really care about. The ends, try to fix them as best you can. If they're not going to slide through here very easily, this shaft checker, then you've got problems. But if they slide in about like 95% of the way, and just that little edge is causing the issue, like try to bend the edge so that you get a completely straight shaft or a reasonably straight shaft. But even if it's not completely straight, what I'm trying to say is the wheels themselves will kind of help straighten the alignment towards the end. So yeah, your mileage may vary. Now, depending on how bent the shaft is, right, that could affect it greatly. But if it's like if you're so close to being straight on the shaft, then once you push this into the wheel, it's going to be straighter. And like I said, this middle portion is the portion that you really care about. And that's what causes this to be truly straight. Yeah. Notice the nice quiet. This one's got a little bit of, this is the straighter one. But there we go. Very nice. So when you're lining up your wheels, you want to make sure that your bumps on the wheels are in the same plane on the front and the rear. I would put my straighter shaft where the motor is, near where the motor is. So this is a front-loaded car, so I'm putting the straighter shaft towards the front. So front-loaded meaning the motor's towards the front. If the motor were in the rear, I'd put the straighter shaft in the rear section. There are ball-bearing palms in all four sets here, and I believe, let me just check here. Yes, there are ball-bearing palms in this one too. One of my friends found that I did not use ball bearings on one of my tune class cars, and so he was very amazed with that. And I said, well, for that particular car, you don't need it because it's plenty fast enough. And if you use the eyelets, the little metal eyelet palms, they are, and I'm calling these things palms, even though they're not palms, but the ones with the eyelets in them, the old style like VS chassis palms with the eyelets, those are very fast. Like that. If you switch them over to plastic palms, you're going to get, like, sometimes the performance is the same, sometimes it's better with the eyelets. You just need to lubricate them and you'll get a better result. But yeah, I like those metal eyelet palms. They're pretty cool. So once you get this basic spin, really nice spin, the next step is to add, and I'm putting a 3.5 to 1 gear ratio gear in this one. The next step is to add the propeller shaft. So you have to purchase a special propeller shaft for this. You cannot use, where did it go? Oh, here it is. You cannot use like an FMA propeller shaft. You have to purchase a special SFM propeller shaft, and this fits right here like so. And yeah, so once this is in place, locked in place with the thing, then yeah, you'll see that this is very, very nice. So this shaft here is thicker than other propeller shafts. So if you took a look at a propeller shaft for a modern chassis, you've got these thin, very thin propeller shafts. And I think the thickness of this lends to the stability of this car, of this SFM chassis car. So I think that's why this is so popular. This is like, it's a very stable build once you finish building it. And even though it might not be the fastest car in your fleet, this will be very stable and you might win races using stability over speed. So many of you might just prefer like using plastic wheels, but I wanted to try using aluminum wheels in this one because I wanted even more stability in my car. And so if I want something more powerful than a Hyper Dash, then I'll just put like a Power Dash motor in there or something slightly stronger in the top speed. But it depends on the track that I'm racing on, of course, right? So I might have to change my gears altogether so that I've got the tan counter gear instead of the yellow counter gear. So it all depends on the track that you're racing on. So yes, that was our first installment of Build a Better BMAX car. Until next time, everybody, see you. Bye.